Hi everyone, I welcome you all to our second session of the video series, which will be based on video production, that is script writing and planning by Nick. Now, since you all are our internal guests, so I won't take much time to talk about our program. You guys must be aware about our offerings in terms of different expert sessions, one-on-one sessions, group sessions, and how we intend to provide project-based learning. Now, before I move on, I just wanted to give a quick introduction in terms of how to use Zoom. As soon as you log in on the bottom left corner, you can see there's this audio settings. You can use this to toggle at your end. And at the time when you log in, you have to give access to your microphone when prompted so that you'll be able to talk to us whenever you want to have discussion. At the bottom center, at the center bottom, you can see that there's the option of raise hand. If any point of time during the entire conversation you feel like talking to Nick, just feel free to raise your hand, click that button. I will unmute you and you'll be able to talk to Nick directly. Then also you have a Q&A tab. If you feel that you need to ask him a specific question with respect to last session or this session, put that in the Q&A tab. We'll take all the questions at the end of this session. And then, of course, you have a chat discussion where you can actually talk about the current slides or talk about the current content which is being discussed. Okay. Now, without without wasting much time, I would hand over the stage to Nick. Nick, you can start sharing in.
Alrighty. One second. Uh, let's see. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yes, yes, we can see that.
Okay. Yeah. So I know at least one person was saying they weren't here last week. So I'll just do a brief little catch up. Hi, my name is Nick Pauquette. I'm a video editor and producer from Tampa, Florida, in the United States. I have worked in all kinds of different kinds of video jobs, everything from doing marketing videos for corporations or universities to event videography. I worked in TV news for a couple years. So there's all kinds of different ways that I've done and have played with video in my career, and I kind of want to use these classes to just kind of share what I know and help you guys make the if you become interested, make the best videos possible that you guys can. Last week was just kind of an introduction, so I don't feel too bad if you missed it. We just kind of went over kind of a brief simplified history of how we got to where we are with video, and kind of laid the groundwork for the different types of the different components of making a video, the different stages of production, and which is kind of, now that we're getting further into it, is where we're going to break down into those specific areas and kind of focus on a different thing each week. So today we're getting started with talking about script writing and planning your video. And this is going to be kind of kind of two different kind of components here, because when I say script writing, I'm talking about actually writing the script. But when I talk about planning the video, that's almost a completely different kind of headspace you have to enter into as you're prepping a video, because it's more logistics and kind of figuring out like the flow of everything. So without further ado, let's get into it. We only got a couple people, but I still like to try to engage you guys when I can. So um, before I move on, I'm this question: what is a script for? I'm just curious what you guys can say to that. Do you have an idea of what a script is for in a video context? Feel free to just shout it out in the chat or something.
Guys, do you have any responses on that? Why do you think we need to have script?
to not forget anything, yeah, absolutely. That's you're right on the money. What I've got here, there's a lot of different reasons someone could have that you want to have a script, but kind of the two most important ones are your script serves as the blueprint of your video. It's a chronological rundown of scenes, actions, or dialogue that you want to appear in your video. And this is true regardless of whether we're talking about, a big Hollywood movie where they have a ton of actors and money to spend, and they have like some script that's like 200 pages long. It's also true if we're talking about a short YouTube video you want to make in your bedroom. It always helps to kind of get all your thoughts in a script, so you can kind of run down all of the things that you want to talk about in your video, and have a plan going into it. It allows you to have a smoother production if you already know what you need. Um, so kind of shifting gears a little, what does a script even look like? There are lots of different ways you could write a script. There's a couple that are kind of standardized. This one is super handy for kind of smaller scale videos like commercials, marketing videos, even YouTube stuff. This is what they call the AV script. And it's where you kind of have a table and you have two different columns. You have the visual column and the audio column. And, we talked about this last week, but visual would be everything you see on your screen. Um, maybe obviously, but still it helps to break that down. And audio is everything you hear. So not so, what people are saying, but also maybe sound effects, or if that's going to be a necessary part of it. But so like in this example, you see, just looking at this first column, the visual is spokesperson speaking to camera, image next to speaker, sales graph. And then on the audio side, you see that this person is going to be saying, this graph shows us that there was a sharp increase in sales in quarter 3. So this is kind of a way where you can easily identify both what's going to be said and what's going to be shown. And so I definitely think this is a great way to go for something smaller scale, like maybe what you guys might be doing at first. There's also the screenplay, which anyone who's a movie nerd has probably seen one of these, and this is how movies or TV are written. In these types of scripts, you always start a scene with a header that kind of describes the setting for the scene. So what this means, the int is going to be either int or ext, and that's interior or exterior, and it just kind of tells you at a glance what kind of location you'll be at for the scene. So this is saying that we're in the interior of Rodney's office during the daytime. And so every scene would kind of start with a header like that, and then you would have it formatted where the actions, the descriptions of what's happening, are kind of written out paragraph style, although usually short little sentences, right from the like side there. And then you would kind of put in the middle dialogue and separate it out with the character's name of who's speaking. So the right way to read this would be: Cat knocks on Rodney's door. Cat says, "You got a sec?" Rodney on his phone motions her in. Uh, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of there are more types of script. There are more ways to do this, but these are kind of two of the big ones. And I definitely recommend for something small scale where maybe you guys are presenting like a Moonshot product or something like that. The AV script is probably what you want to do. The screenplay is super handy to look at and study, but that's usually more for if you're doing something that has acting and dialogue in it. But getting into the actual how we're going to write a script, is the first step is outlining. You guys probably hopefully do this when you guys write even just like papers for school or something. But it always helps to go in and kind of make an outline of your thoughts, of your goals for your project, like what you want it to say before you even start writing the actual script, because it makes that process easier if you have like an idea of where you're going. but also it helps you figure out your ideas before you get to the more drawn out part of actually writing the full script. So outlining is a great point where you can identify your argument. What's your main point? What do you want your viewer to learn? Um, if we're talking about um, like that example of like a Moonshot Junior product video, like what you're gonna like when you finish your project, you'd want in your outline to make sure you have a clear idea of what are the main what's the main takeaway that you want the person watching your video to learn about what you've made, um, what's your main point, all of that kind of stuff is great to come up with during the outlining process. It's also a point where you can figure out your structure. What I mean by that is like the actual like shape and style of your video. You can figure out how you're going to start it, how you're going to end it, how long it's going to be. Like this is all stuff you can figure out when you're outlining. And then also, even as early as outlining, you can start to think about what kind of visuals will you use to illustrate your point. Because video is a visual medium. It's as much, if not more, about what you show than what you say. So even during writing, where it's not the most visual part of the process, it's good to get an idea already of what you're going to show. If you're making a video about basketball, you're probably going to want to start thinking about like, oh, I'd like to, get some slow motion shots of people shooting baskets into hoops or something like that, because that's probably something you would want in a video like that. It would probably look cool and kind of illustrate what you're talking about. But then after outlining, you'd get into the actual writing. You'd use what you've outlined as your guide. And some tips that I would recommend for the actual writing process are to clearly introduce your topic at the start of your script. So some of the stuff goes without saying, but also it's something that when we're new to this, when we're trying stuff for the first time, it can be easy to overlook. You want to make sure that the person watching your video knows what your video is about. So, one of the first like sentences or something that you're going to want to put in a video is a clear explanation for what exactly this video is. It could be something as direct and as simple as hi, I'm Nick Pauquette, and I'm going to be talking to you today about screenwriting or something like that. Um, so always want to clearly introduce your topic at the start. Um, Writing tip from me is that be concise. Shorter is sweeter. If you can say uh, the same idea in 5 words or 50 words, usually you're going to want to shoot for the 5 rather than the 50, just because it'll be faster paced, it'll be more engaging, it'll keep people's interest. Kind of rambling and kind of losing the thought can kind of make people lose interest in watching the video as well. So I definitely think, you know, being clear, concise, and quick with your writing is always makes for stronger work. And then this is something specifically for video. In writing, is that you want to address your B-roll in your script, explain why you're showing this. So, you know, if so just to kind of clarify, because I know some people weren't here last week, what we talked about was that there are two main types of video in a project when you're shooting something. You have A roll, which is the main kind of skeleton footage, the thing that you absolutely need to kind of build the rest of the video out on. If I'm doing a video review of one of the new game consoles. Like I'm sure some of you guys probably watch videos like that. I'm the A roll in that would be the part where I'm standing next to my new console, looking into the camera and talking about all the things I like about it. Because that's kind of the main thing you have to have in a video like that. But then my B roll would be, like the cool, like slow-mo glossy shots of the game console, of the controller. It would be the clips of the games that I'm playing. So that's all the stuff that you would then add into your video through editing to kind of illustrate your point and add some flavor. So B-roll is kind of the secondary stuff. It's not, that doesn't make it less important, but A-roll is everything you absolutely need, and B-roll is all of the additional fun stuff you're gonna throw in there. But in the context of writing your script, both because it helps you as a videographer to know what you want to shoot early on, so that's a big reason that you would want to like put your b-roll in your script, but also it helps your b-roll feel more relevant if you have planned for it and you can write around it, like um if I, in that same context, if I'm talking about um how great the graphics are, if it would be one thing if I had just kind of written a generic sentence about, oh man, the graphics are so great. I could still throw in a video over that to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about, but a better way to do it might be, um, so take a look at this clip. You can see here that the graphics are great because X, Y, and Z, and so you actually have planned ahead, and you're incorporating your B-roll into what you're actually saying, and it makes everything feel more cohesive and tighter. Um, and yeah, whoops, we went two. All right. And then I always say that it's great to restate your point at the end and what you want the viewer to learn. So even if you already said that at the top, in the same way, if you guys are writing papers in school, they'll tell you that you need a thesis statement at the top of your paper, and then in your conclusion paragraph, you should restate your thesis. Video is kind of the same way. It's just a good way to present an argument. You say up front what you're going to be talking about, then you talk about it, then you say what you just talked about. But it's a way to help people kind of take a final takeaway from what they just watched and kind of have a easy, digestible idea in their head for what you presented to them. And so then we kind of shift gears into the logistics side of planning a shoot. And this is absolutely necessary, especially if you're working with more than just yourself. If you're going to have other people shooting with you, either behind the camera with you or in front of the camera, having a clear plan is super important. Some like tips and advice that I have for planning a shoot is, you always want to identify your needs. So we talked about A roll versus B roll. In making a plan, write that down just so you have it. What is your A roll for this project going to be? What is your B roll for this project going to be? Kind of, there are different ways that you can do that. You can come up with a shot list, you can storyboard, you can just write notes, but having a clear plan for what you're going to shoot and how is big part of planning. Um, so yeah, have a firm idea of what both of those will be. Another thing to consider is when will you shoot? You always want to give yourself enough time. I always say add an hour. Like figure out what you need. Say that you think you if you and then add an hour to that. So if you think like, oh, I could probably shoot this video in an hour, give yourself 2 hours, just because there's always going to be setup, there's always going to be tear down, there's always going to be that part where a shot that you think in your head is going to work great doesn't actually work when you get there, and you have to kind of rethink it in the moment. So giving yourself more than enough time is always beneficial. And then if you're shooting with anyone else, you absolutely want to make sure you have a clear schedule with them. Um, like there are a lot of, especially even just having like 3 or 4 people working on a video together, that's a lot of moving parts. That's a lot of people with their own plans and schedules. Um, Most people probably won't be able to just like drop what they're doing at drop of a hat if you text them like, hey, let's go work on that video now. So making a shooting schedule is paramount. Um, so and we're talking smaller scale stuff, so you don't need to make like a big crazy doc Excel sheet with everyone's schedule and who's going to be where when, although that's definitely helpful to do when you get to bigger scale stuff. But just, even if it's just having a group chat with the people that you'd be working with, where you kind of make sure everyone's on the same page about where we're meeting, when we're meeting, all of that stuff is super important. Um, and then, yeah, I just kind of said this, but the where will you be shooting? Um, have a plan for where you'll be and how you'll get there. You don't want to just go into a shoot and think, oh, I can go like we'll just drive around and find a cool building to film in. It doesn't usually work like that. Having a plan in advance of that we're going to meet at this specific place because I've decided that it's the best place to shoot, and just having an idea for how everyone's going to get there. Especially you guys are probably not driving yet, so I'm sure there would be like working with your parents or whatever on facilitating stuff like this, but having a plan for where you'll be and how you'll get there is super important too. And then, you know, I'm talking kind of in the context of videos where we're assuming that you guys are hosting or appearing on screen for your video and presenting something. So you would always want to practice your script as well. And this is just kind of gets into like good like public speaking um, advice. But once you actually have your script, you're going to want to practice it. Um, I always say the best way is to read your script out loud at full speaking volume because there are differences in the way we speak when we're like reading in our head or whispering to ourselves, but you're going to be speaking at full volume in the video. So that's probably the best way to practice your script, even if you feel awkward standing in your bathroom talking at full volume. Uh, but it's absolutely the best way to do it because you'll get a feel for how it'll actually sound when you do it on camera. Um, you should always try to speak slowly and clearly and enunciate your words, just to be better understood. Um, and then you should probably time yourself when you're doing this too, is advice that I have. Because we do have kind of vague ideas, like generally speaking, most script formats are set up and spaced in a way where one page equals 1 minute of video. So a 3-page script would be a 3-minute video. In movies, that holds true. Typically, like a script for a 2-hour movie will be about 120 pages. Um, but still, it can vary based on the word choice you use and how you set everything up. So it's always good to time yourself as you're working through your script because you may find that, oh, I'm supposed to be making a 1-minute video and I just practiced my script and it took me 4 minutes to get through. I should probably trim some stuff, clean it up a little. Or you might find, oh, I just read through that in like 20 seconds. Maybe I should add some more to that and fill it out. So that's absolutely part of it. And that gets into what I was just talking about, editing your script. Um, Once you've kind of taken that step of practice and kind of gone through and um, gotten a feel for what's working in your script, what's not working, that's when you can then go back to your script before you film and make any edits or changes to it. I always recommend changing any phrases that you had trouble reading aloud. If you kept getting tripped up on your words as you were reading, chances are that's not just you having trouble with the speaking side. It's probably an actual maybe clunkily written, awkwardly written line of in your script. So if something's giving you trouble, maybe that's the cue to go in and change the way you phrase that so you can read it aloud more easily and clearly. Um, and then I always suggest trimming the parts that feel repetitive or too wordy. Once you've practiced a script, you'll probably start to realize, like, oh, in this part, I kind of said the same thing 3 times in a row in an accident, in an accidental way, or I um, just kind of was saying taking way too long to say one simple concept. So that's so make notes of those parts, and then go into your script and maybe trim those parts to make them feel a little more um, faster paced or clear, and less repetitive. And then fine tune your message. Like, was your point clear as you practiced it? Did it actually seem like you had a coherent argument or position? So I always say to fine tune your message and make sure your point is clear. And then that's kind of what I had for my slides today. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has. But one thing we didn't talk about last week that I do want to get into is that there is kind of a assignments homework type side to this video series. The idea being that hopefully we can do small steps each week that correspond to what we're doing to kind of get through a process where we can each make a video and come out of this with a video at the end. So we didn't bring this up in the first lesson last week, so this is not this is new information for everyone. But uh, basically, what I want you guys to do is to come up with an idea for a short, like 30-second to 1-minute video where you can present on a topic that interests you, or maybe one of your projects for Moonshot, where you can go in and talk about um, maybe just you know use it as public speaking practice, but also as a chance to kind of apply these things we've talked about. So like maybe a 30-second to 1-minute thing where you set up in front of a camera, you have a script, you talk about something you're interested in. Maybe you go out and shoot some B-roll to kind of illustrate what you're talking about. And then at the end, we'll edit it all together. But we'll do this step by step, one stage at a time, to hopefully keep it fun and easy and not overwhelming. So what I think would be great if everyone could is to uh, both come up with an idea for what you want your topic to be. And like I said, it could be something like if you want to show off something you've made as part of your Moonshot Junior classes, if you want it to be just kind of like a topic, like pick a topic that you want to talk about. Last time we did these, someone's video they wanted to do was just about um, that basketball was their favorite sport, and they wanted to make a video about why basketball was their favorite sport. So that's absolutely fine too. But what I was hoping, if we could do this by next Sunday, that everyone could write a one-page script for your video. I would suggest using that AV script format, and I think we can make sure that those can be sent out to everyone in this class. But I would just suggest taking a crack at that and trying to write just a page, because we only want like a 30-second to 1-minute video. So a page would be the a good spot for that, and then to include just not separately, just kind of as part of your script, include what kinds of B-roll you want to be shooting for this. Like I said, if we were doing that example that someone wanted to make a video about basketball, you would probably maybe want to, even just in your front yard or something, get some shots of you dribbling the ball or shooting hoops or something like that. So just kind of have a plan for that in your script. But if everyone could uh, try to take a crack. This says next Tuesday, but let's say next Sunday. So you have a full week. If everyone could try to kind of just get a simple one-page script together, that would be so cool, and we could build from there to kind of each put together a video over the course of these. But yeah, that's basically it. Does anyone have any questions or wanna, either about this assignment or about just anything we talked about today, or video stuff in general?
Thank you, Nick. Students, you have any particular question for Nick? Anything that you want to talk about? Are you all clear with the assignment that you're supposed to do for the next week? Okay, I see a couple of faces. Okay. Okay, students, if you don't have any other question, I think we are good to go. Thank you so much, Nick, for today's session. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
students, for joining in today. And we'll see you guys next week, same time.
sounds
Thank you.
good. Thanks.